Good morning to you all. It's a pleasure having you here today. Welcome to our first session of a series of training that we will be providing from now on. And it's about the training on the use of the Global Environment Monitoring System for Food Monitoring and Assessment Program. So to begin with, I'm pleased to introduce to Mr. Raul. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this workshop with our colleagues from Latin America and the Caribbean. And the purpose is to use the database GEMS Food, so all the information in our countries is available that can be consulted by other members of the Codex. This workshop, we usually work during a whole day for all the member countries of OIRSA, but today we're only going to dedicate 2 hours, and we, of course, are going to try to take advantage of this opportunity. And the participants, hopefully, they can learn how to access to the database of GEMS Food, and so you can be able to fill out the form and upload the information in the database. Like I say, we usually this training, we have them in sessions, so we can facilitate the countries that they can upload information, just like Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and other countries have already been able to use the information available in the GEMS Food database. Now I'm going to share my screen with you. Just give me a second, please. Did you see? Okay, so now we are going to separate the session in 3 different sections. So the first one is this PowerPoint presentation. Then we're going to share the database in Excel and the sheet of the GEMS Food database. If I am too fast because I have an interpreter, you can stop. Every half an hour, we're going to stop to see if you have any questions about the presentation so we can answer. You can write down your questions in the chat box, please. Like I say, the goal for this workshop is to learn about the objectives and the operations of GEMS Food. Second is to provide guidelines to the authorities to request access to GEMS Food. Third, to be able to register and log in into GEMS Food. Fourth, fill out the GEMS Food in Excel data template. And fifth, upload the Excel templates from the GEMS Food database. The content that we are going to review is the history and functions of GEMS Food. I know that most of you are familiar with this, but taking into account that not everybody is familiar with the history of GEMS Food, we're going to just talk about it briefly. We're also going to talk about the history and functions of JECFA and GMPR, which is the meeting of experts of the FAO and MDO for the plaguicide. the registration and login in Jen's Food database. Fourth, filling out the template in Excel. And fifth, upload the template in Excel to the Gems Food database. There is a sixth point and another point that is additional, and if we have time, we may review that, which is a proposal of a database in Excel. Because one of the difficulties that we have seen in the countries is that sometimes we have information about contaminants or pollutants, but the way it is stored in the database is not easy, or we cannot access to this database. So we want to talk about how to build up a database in Excel so we can collect all the information on pollutants. Okay. So just a short story about Jen's Food. It was first established in 1976 as a joint uh, project between FAO, UNEP, and WHO as an executing entity. This project ended in 1994. However, WHO has continued implementing GEMS Food for the benefit of its contributing institutions. In 2011, WHO launched a web-based system for data submission that was updated in 2021. The goal of GEMS Food is to collect and make accessible the data on food contamination from different countries for synthesis, evaluation, and presentation worldwide. So why is it necessary to collect and make accessible food contamination data? So toxic chemicals present in food, it can be a threat to public health that may cause cancer, kidney and liver dysfunctions, etc. They may also constitute a threat to commerce and the environment. And the global monitoring of food exposure to chemicals provides information on risk associated with food consumption and the amount of chemical substance in the food that can make it harmful to health. It is estimated that these pollutants represent a high cost of millions and millions of dollars each year. For example, we work on a review on the database on the European Union on Latin American countries from 2005 to 2020, and the main cause of rejection of export food are the chemical contaminants or pollutants. So James Food informs governments, the Joint FAO WHO Codex, and other institutions, as well as the public, about the levels and trends of the presence of contaminants in foods, the part that they represent in total human exposure, and its importance to public health and trade. It also provides calculations of theoretical maximum daily intake and other estimates of exposure to pesticides for use by Codex Committee on Pesticide Residues. Also, as part of its exposure assessment work, James Food maintains a food consumption database structured around one global diet and 5 cultural diets. That means that not only James Food focuses on maintaining a database on contaminants, but also it's in charge of the estimation of the database of daily consumption, also about the database on food consumption. So what are the contaminants that are under surveillance? So there are the plaguicide residues. We monitor the levels of pesticides in food, heavy metals like the nicotoxins as aflatoxin, etc. And also other pollutants that are persistent. We're going to talk about the joint FAO-WHO meeting on pesticide residues. This committee was first convened under a FAO in 1966. I think most of us haven't been born yet. The goal was to work on some specifications on the food additives. After that, the evaluations were expanded to include other residual parts. That means that this committee is in charge of the contaminants and other residues. It also is in charge of toxicological and related data, and also to establish, when possible, the ADF for human beings. Also, the identity of the review on the maximum limits of veterinarian medication on food and food additives and maximum levels of microtoxins and other contaminants that are persistent. So, in short, this is what is in charge of the JEPFA. In the case of the GMPR, which is the Joint Meeting on Pesticide Residues, was first convened in 1963 to evaluate toxicological data and other relevant information about pesticides that leave residues in food. So this committee is in charge of the review of toxicological and related data related to plaguicide, establishment, when possible, of an ADI for human beings, the review of pesticides use guidelines, data on chemical composition, the methods for analyzing waste, and the recommendation of the MRLs that might be found in food products following the use of pesticides in accordance with good agricultural practices. So in short, these are those committees. So now we're going to talk about the GEMS food database. So how do we register and log in into the GEMS food database? So the data provider, that means the countries, must register first and create a username, which is the email address and a password of the WHO. The institution that owns the data must provide the GEMS food administrator with contact information so that it appears as a collaborating institution. That means that any country may request the administrator of the GEMS food database or make a proposal or propose to make our institution a contributor. The institution must propose users authorized to upload the data and request the administrator to create institutional account or several accounts. This is up to you and as many as you need for your country. An institution may have as many accounts as needed, and every user may access, modify, or erase the data that their institution has sent. This is very important. When a user abandons the institution, the account, it just cancels out, but the information is still available for other members. So that's why when we enter our user, it has to be with an institutional address. Otherwise, when a person abandons an institution, this person is going to still continue having access to the database. And because every user can modify or withdraw the data sent by their institution, this may create a conflict. So it's important that all the emails are institutional addresses. Like I said, that institution must authorize the users and request the administrator to create institutional account. An institution can have as many accounts as needed, and each user can access, modify, or withdraw the data. This is what I was just pointing out. So who uses the authentication system? So you have to request this to this address, food safety at who.int. Generally, the first one is the address to request access. I recommend you to send emails to this account, to these addresses directly to the administrator of the GEMS food to access to request access. So this is where you can request access to the GEMS food database. And also, like I say, I recommend that you consider the number of different users you may have. The email, you must provide information about your institution as well as the user's contact information. Once you request access, you may have to check in your mailbox, including your spam folder. Once your invitation has been accepted, the user must go to this following address and by clicking the login link at the top right of the homepage. From now on, I'm going to leave this presentation just like that so we can check these different pages. This is the database of GEMS food. As you can see, I am already logged in as my user ID, R Peralta user, or which is my institutional email. Why? Because any other institution may have access or request access to GEMS page. This is in Spanish. There is an starting page. There is this tab to go up, search, my profile, and help. Here you have just a welcome words, and there's an explanation over here. In this second tab, they say explore GEMS database, food contaminants. You can see the different regions of GEMS, Pacific region of OEMs, the Asia region, uh, Latin American region, that's where we belong to, European region, and European continent. So you're not going to see your country, but you must be part of one of these regions. The third tab is instructions on how to use the GEMS database, and here you can see there are two forms. One is the contaminant for food, and the two different forms. Once you log in, you can download this form where you can upload the information that you would like to send to a GEMS database. And this is the sheet. So this is what you have to fill out to send information to GEMS database. And so during these 2 hours, we're going to try to our best to show you how are you going to fill out this form. That's what I say. I'm going to have the presentation in in a second screen. So let's go back again. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask now. Okay, so we continue. So who used the authentication? So once you have logged into the database, the user will have access to the Excel templates to upload data. This is what I was explaining you with the Excel uh, template. The regular template allows the data provider to enter the national food classification and map it into the WHO and Food X2. The bulk template allows the data provider who has already mapped the national classification to the WHO enter the data directly using one of the two coding systems. Once you have filled out the normal or the regular templates, this has to be used by the data provider to map the national classification with the WHO and FoodX2. The template is an Excel file that contains 5 worksheets that I'm going to show you now. This is the first Excel template that has 5 different worksheets. The first one is food mapping. Third one, individual analysis results. Fourth is food classification, and fifth, contaminant. We are going to use only the number 1, number 2, and number 3. If you have any question, you may ask anytime. So, description of the worksheet 1, start. Worksheet 1, start, contains a checklist for the institution who prepares a data submission. Once all the data, when all data submitted is for one single chemical, you must select it on worksheet 1. If you're going to send more than 2 chemicals, you can select a second one in this worksheet. So we move to the first one in the start worksheet. So here you can see we can select the contaminant. Here there are all the contaminants in which GEMS database collects information for, and there are in alphabetical order. So let's say if we like to make a shipment or aflatoxin B1, so we search the name. So you can see aflatoxin. You can see all the different kinds of aflatoxin. Is aflatoxin, total aflatoxin B1, B1 and B2, B2, B3, G8, all of them. So if we want to select one, here it's already marked the contaminant that I'm going to send. So that is the only thing you can do in the first sheet. You select the contaminant when we're going to send one contaminant, okay? So we already finished with the sheet number 1. So worksheet 2. We are still in the regular worksheet. Worksheet 2, food mapping, the normal template. This contains the tool that will be used for mapping. The local food identifier column A. It consists of the name given to the food in the national database. That means in the column A, you're going to write the name that you give to this food in your country. So the two sorting levels in the drop-down menus, level 1 called food group column B, and level 2 called WHO food identifier column C. The WHO food code, as well as the FoodX code and the FoodX2 names, are automatically generated respectively in columns E, F, and G. So now I'm going to open the worksheet in Excel, and I click on the sheet number 2. So here I'm going to write down. We are working with aflatoxin, right? So let's say that we are sending some a shipment of aflatoxin. So here I'm going to write the name of the corn in my country. I think it's the same in all the countries. So it's maize or corn. In the column B, there's a drop-down menu when you have to select the group of food that the corn belongs to. And because corn belongs to cereals and cereal-based products, I'm going to select that food group. Then in the column C, we're going to click on the food, WHO food identifier, so cereal grains, and then automatically the other columns have been filled out until the column G. You have this Excel form, and it's very convenient that we both do it, that you and I do it at the same time. Because let's say a child learns how to swim when a child just jump in the pool. By looking at other kids, they won't learn. So because everyone has this form, I think I recommend you to do it at the same time with me, to fill it out with me. So that's all the work you do in worksheet 2. So let's look into the description of worksheet 3. So those are the individual analysis results. So and field E is the local food identifier. Field characteristics is mandatory. Field size is free text. Alphanumeric characters. Field contact. The local food identifier consists of the name given to the food in the national database. It could preferably be written in the original language or translated into English. So I go back to my worksheet in Excel, and then I click on my sheet number 3, individual analysis results. So here I have column A, column B, C, and D. And here in the worksheet and on the column E, I have to write down the name in the database, which we already wrote down on the worksheet 2. If it's correct, I'm going to have it here. I click on it, and then the column B is automatically filled out C and D. So now I have 4 columns filled out on the worksheet number 3. Like I say, I recommend you to do it both you and I together at the same time. So I already fill out the worksheet 1, the number 2, and now I'm filling out the worksheet number 3, where I have already filled out columns B, C, and D. So I continue with the description on the worksheet number 3. It says, once you have entered a local food identifier for the first time, it must be mapped to the WHO food grouping system using the food mapping, which is what we did on template worksheet 2. When a local food identifier has been mapped, fields B, C, and D are automatically are already fill out when you press enter, which is what we did. Field F, record serial number. Field characteristic mandatory. Field size free text. Alphanumeric characters. Field content. The record serial number consists of the code assigned to the record in the national database. That means that every sample you send to the lab has a code. So that's the code that you have to enter in this column. Then I go back to my Excel worksheet where it says serial number of the record. I'm going to, let's write OIRSA 2024, let's say. You can enter anything you want. So that's why we write. So this is the code where you're going to identify that sample. The code that you sent this sample to the lab to. That's where you're going to enter in that column E. Field G, country or region. Field feature, optional. So you have a drop-down menu, field content. All national institutions can submit data from one country, and therefore this field is optional. That means if Honduras or Guatemala are sending information, Guatemala is only going to send information about Guatemala. So that's why this is an optional field. My recommendation is that if it's an optional, you can still select. So now other international agencies as OIRSA and multinational agencies may send information on behalf of multiple individual countries. So what you do here is you select the country. Let's say we are sending information of El Salvador. So we look for El Salvador. Okay, here we are. So I select El Salvador, like I say. If it's a country that is sending information, this is an optional field, but my recommendation is that you may select it too. So that was the field G. So field H, contaminant. Field characteristic, optional if the template is for a single chemical and its name is mentioned in the worksheet 1 start. That means if you already selected flatoxin on the sheet number 1 and you're going to send an information for one contaminant, it's not an optional that you select. My recommendation is that even though it is optional, you may select that too. Field size, drop-down menu. Field content, this is the name of the chemical tested. That means about the chemical that you are sending information about. So in one of these templates, you can send several chemical products in the same template. So I go back to my template and you can see there are all the chemicals. Because we are sending information about flatoxin 1, I can select flatoxin 1, flatoxin B1. So I select a flatoxin B1, I already selected, and my worksheet 1, that means here, okay? So field I, origin of food. There's also a field that is optional. There is a drop-down menu, field content. Identifies whether the country of origin of the food is the same as the supplier country's record. There are 4 possible options: domestic, imported, mixed origin, or unknown. Also, my recommendation that is, even though this is an optional field, it is important to know where is the origin of that food. So here in your template, you only check on any of those options if it's imported, domestic, mixed, or unknown. Let's say that this is domestic, that is a national production. So age, sampling date, field characteristic mandatory, field size, date. So what we are going to enter is the year of sampling, not the month or the date, but the year of the sampling. The date of when the sample was taken, not the date of the analysis, but the date the sample was taken. Format of the year. So what we do here is we're going to write down here the year. Let's say it's 2024. You write down the year. So field K, representativeness or reliability of the sample. Field characteristic is mandatory. There is a drop-down menu to indicate if it was a random sampling or a directed or unknown sampling. Why? This is a very important information when we come to review or evaluate the sample. So you have to select if it's random sampling or unknown sampling. In the 17th meeting on past April that took place in Panama in past April, we discussed about a proposal to make changes on this template of data worksheet of GEMS food database. And the proposal consisted and then included that we would change the representativeness to representativeness of the sample. But this is only a proposal that the Committee of Contaminants is considering right now. All the attendees of this meeting have all this information. So what we do here is there is a drop-down menu, and we select here. And so that means that this is a random sampling. That is the field K. Field L, lab identification. Field feature, it's optional. Even though this is optional, I believe that it is very important to enter the name of the lab where the sample was processed. So it indicates the laboratory that presents the results in this set of records. So what do is you write down the name of the lab. Let's say I'm going to write down the lab OIRSA lab. So you write down the lab name here. If anyone has a question, please, you may do it right now. Field M, analytical quality guarantee. Field feature is optional. Drop-down menu, there is a drop-down menu, field content. This field may contain only one of the following options that indicates the lab's proficiency level: internal quality assurance and reference standards only. That means if the lab only has one management system. Second, all successful participation in relevant competency tests during the sampling and analysis period. Official accreditation of the relevant methods during the sampling and analysis period. that is the accreditation and the regulation 177025 and unknown quality assurance of the lab. Those are the four options that we have in this field that even though it's optional, I also recommend that we have to select. That's my opinion. So here on the M column, let's say that the labs is officially accredited. Field and N. Units of measurement for contaminant levels. This field is mandatory. It also has a drop-down menu. The content is this field must contain one of the following options: milligrams per kilogram or parts per million, micrograms per kilogram or parts per billion, nanogram per kilogram or parts per trillion, picogram per kilogram or parts per quadrillion, and becquerels per kilograms. So those are the options that we have in field N. And what we do is that in our template, we selected in the drop-down menu. Generally, the microtoxin analysis are referred to in micrograms per gram. So what we're going to select, the unit in which the results are being reported. For example, we sent some samples of inorganic arsenic in rice to a lab, and that lab reported that in milligram per kilogram. Another lab reported in milligram per kilogram. So here we have to select the measurement, the units of measurement. Field O, limit of detection, LOD or LOC. In the database is the limit of detection LOD. This field is mandatory. The size is a number. The content, it's field content minimum concentration of a contaminant that can be qualitatively measured. That means that detection limit of detection is the limit in which the method of analysis can't measure quantitatively, but there can be a sign that the contaminant is present. This field contains the LOD reported by the lab or a value estimated from the LOQ. But this field is very important that you know about it, because many times we receive the report of the analysis and there is not any information about LOD. So we have to request that the results include the LOD. Here, the LOD is a number. So let's say that they say that the report says there were 6 micrograms. So I write down 6, just assuming that that's the information that the lab reported. Something very important here for you to take into consideration is that we have, if you can see the template in Excel, you write down a number, but here it's like a text, appears as a text. We have to change that as number. Otherwise, if we don't, there is a mistake, and when we upload the database, the system is going to reject it. So those are the tricks that we have to take into consideration, okay? Field P, limit of quantification or LOQ or LOC. is whatever the lab sends in the report. This is a mandatory field and it's also a number. The content is the LOQ is the minimum concentration of a contaminant that can be quantitatively measured. So in other words, is the level on which the lab is able to measure in a quantitative manner. So this is the LOQ reported by a laboratory. So that's the information that the lab provides. This is something that the lab provides. So something important to say is that the LOD must be higher than zero. LOQ also must be higher than zero, and then LOD has to be less than LOQ. In the meeting of the contaminants committee, in the last meeting, there was a proposal to change the order of the fields, that the field O is where is the LOQ is after the LOD. So the proposal was to enter only first the LOQ and then the LOD, but that was only, this is only a proposal in the community. So here in the LOQ, let's say it's 2. It's also a number. Like I said, the LOQ has to be higher than the LOD. And then here you have to mark a number. If I have the LOQ as 4, is C is rejected because the LOQ has to be higher than the LOD. So field Q, analytical results. Characteristic, it's mandatory. The size, field size is a drop-down menu. The content of the field is the basis on which the analytical values were defined. Yeah. So it's a fat content, dry weight, as it is, raw, fresh, how it is consumed. The proposal is to change the order. So this says how it is consumed, how is it raw, dry weight, and fat content. This is a proposal of the committee of contaminants. So here we're going to select the base. Let's say is it the dry weight, let's say. So we select that one. That's the Q. So field R, portion analyzed. It's also mandatory. It is also a drop-down menu. So this field can contain one of the following options: only edible, total food. There is a proposal to change it. So to change it into only edible only, or whole food, or edible or inedible. And the proposal is that this field is also required or mandatory, but up to now it's not mandatory. That the committee is, I'm sure, going to announce the resolution in the next meeting, and then also the workshop that is taking into that is working on this matter. So we mark here edible only, because we're talking about corn. It's all edible, so it's all edible here. Field S, state or status of the food analyzed. I think I'm missing. So this is an optional field. The field size is mobile menu. The content, this field can contain only one of the following options: cooked foods, raw foods, or if the information is unknown. So there are 3 options. There also a proposal to change the title or the name of the field. So instead of the state of food analyzed, the proposal is to change state and parentheses and cook and raw. But like I said, these are only proposals that are being considered in the workshop or group working group. Here on field S, we select if it's cooked, raw, or unknown. We're going to select that it's raw. Because when we send the corn to the lab, we don't send it cooked, but we send it raw. So field T, here are the results. This field is also mandatory because we're going to report the data. Field size is a number. The content is individual result of the pollutant. So note, results below the LOQ must be entered as 0. In other words, if all the reports from the lab, like they say undetermined, we have to enter in this form as 0. No ND, but 0. There is also a proposal to change the result instead of saying that instead of the number, if it's mandatory, if it's LOD or LC. So here in our template, in the result, we're going to write down the number that was reported from the lab. If it's undetermined or unknown, we write down 0. But let's say if the result was 25, we write it here. That's the result. Again, we have to check this as a number. Otherwise, when you try to upload it, there's going to be a mistake. And when you upload this form into the GEMS database, it's going to be rejected. So individual results versus added results. Field is optional. There is a drop-down menu, content. It allows you to mark the type of result of the sample. If it is a mixed sample or if it's a single sample. It's also a drop-down menu. And here what we do, we select individual or aggregated sample. If it's individual, if it's a random sample, if it's an aggregated where we probably have taken different samples from different loads, and so this is aggregated. So UV data confidentiality. So the field is optional. The size is drop-down menu. So by default, the data is not confidential and can be used for the purpose of the GEMS food program. So there is a proposal that there's only option that is yes. The proposal is that we can add yes or not. My recommendation, because if you send information, so you want them to be used. So there's only one option and it's yes. And if we mark yes, so what happens with the information? When you want to use this information, so the user must request permission. So for me, this is not even relevant. So if we are sharing this information, is just to make it available. So in my opinion, you shouldn't even change that field. So field W, comments or references. This field is optional. This free text is alphanumeric. This field is used to know to enter comments and references relevant to the data represented. Here you can enter any comment that you want in this field. It's also alphanumeric. My experience, what we have seen is what we have done to upload when we have upload information is that the field it's to identify the lab. We have leave it in blank, and here we have entered the name of the lab, because when we have entered the name of the lab in that column, for some reason the site rejects our templates. So that's in my experience, okay? But you can try, just like we have explained, write down the lab where it's supposed to go in the column. And here you can write out any other comment. Try to upload the template and see if you can do it. So there is a trick. Someone said, but if I have to upload two, 1,000 data, I have to enter each field individually. No. What you can do is copy, paste. That's why it's important to have all our information in an Excel template, because if because every column we just copy and paste, and we only complete the rest of the information. For instance, if you're going to send 1,000 data on corn, you only copy corn 1,000 times. You don't have to enter it again and again. Again, if it's El Salvador, you only copy paste. If it's aflatoxin, you also copy paste, and so on for each one of the fields. And once you enter the references, if you are going to talk about the aflatoxin B1, the limit of determination and quantification is the same for those analyses. You don't have to fill out every time you enter an information. So the individual data you have to enter manually. But if you already have them in an Excel sheet, you can copy and paste here. We have done it, and it's been very effective. It's a We're going to practice more a little bit later. So we're going to fill out the information. Let's say I'm going to search for, let's say there I'm going to send 30 different information about 30 data about corn. I'm going to copy on all the way to the number 31, let's say. I paste and see all the rest of the columns, they're already filled out. See? There is a mistake here. Here I have to, I guess it's the same. This may be different. I can copy, let's say, let's say, I'm going to change it to IRSA 001, and then I see, you can see it's automatically numbered. The country, it's the same. I'm just going to copy and paste. If it's aflatoxin, it's the same. So I'm just copy because it's the same contaminant to the 31. The food origin is the same one. I copy. The year is the same. I copy. If it's a random sampling, it's the same too. I also copy this. The lab is the same. Here too. Analytical quality assurance is the same. I copy it. It's also the measurement units. It's also the same. As you can see, the columns are changing. The LOD is the same and the LOQ is the same. Just copy it. Results based on the same. The portion analyzed is the same. The state of food analyzed is the same. I copy. And here what I'm going to do here is the result. If I have it on a separate Excel sheet, I can copy it. I'm going to do it manually now. See, you can see I enter 4 because the result can be lower than the LOQ. It has to be 15 because the limit has LOQ is 2. Here the same. Okay, that's it. So I already complete all my templates. See, there was an error, a mistake here, but there's not an error anymore. For let's say if I didn't add here this information. No, let's see. If I skip any result, here I deleted this one. Okay, let's see. It has to be a mandatory field. Let me give you an example. Let me show you. Here, I leave this column in blank. Let's see. No, it doesn't give me any mistake. But generally, when we make a mistake, you're going to see that in the column A. After we fill out our template, we're going to go back. If this is a happy, you see a happy face, that means that we have done it well. If the face is not a happy face, that means that there is a mistake in our template. But if you see this face, everything is fine. I want to show you something so I can, that there's a mistake in my template. So you can see that we have an unhappy face. Let's see if I can do it from here. Oh, this is still marking a happy face. But the result is that when you see a happy face is because everything is okay. So we have completed our worksheet on in Excel, so we can send it now to upload it into the database. In the meeting that I had in that we had in Panama, there is a proposal. See, okay, the proposal is to add new fields to this template in Excel. So we can add a field on the information on the composition, another field about the text, the origin and the region of the food, other about the maximum level of the contaminant in that country or in the sampling region, another field of the type of product, that we add another field on the situation on sampling on the chain production, another field on the method of analysis. So those are proposals for this database. We don't know what this work group is going to decide, but in the next meeting, we're going to learn about that. So up to date, this is the only database that we have available with the fields that we have seen, with the worksheet number 1, the worksheet 2, and the worksheet 3 that we already have filled really fast. So now let's continue to the second part. That's the goal. That's our goal. So, are there any questions? No. Okay. If someone has a question, please feel free to ask now. While I'm drink a little bit of water. See, I don't want you to be like my students in physics. I was explaining physics in a very complicated formula, and I said, did you understand? And they all say, teacher, but you talk so fast. I don't understand anything. So I don't want this to happen with you here. So uploading the templates. Once you have filled out a template, you have to save it before uploading. So you fill out the template and you save it in a file. And the upload tool. I'm going to show you on the page how you do it. This option allows you to upload templates that contain up to 1,080,000 lines. So in one single template, you can send 1,800,000 fields or data. First step, select the template, go upload tab, access the XMARK tool by clicking on upload. This feature allows you to upload templates. Select the origin of the batch as Excel food contaminant, then click preview. I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm not going to upload that. But after you see the presentation on PowerPoint, I'm going to show you in the database how you do it, okay? This is the page of the database. So here what you see, when you see here, it says upload. We click on upload so you can access to the option to update, to upload your informations. So you're gonna see this page. Here, because we are a log in, we're going to have access to see all the different fields that you have seen and what is the state of those uploads, if they have been completed or rejected. As you can see from all these databases that were uploaded when I did this screenshot that was last week, these food contaminant Excel were completed. These were 4,803 different data. The same data was uploaded and canceled because there was a mistake, and then it was uploaded again. This, for example, there were 900 data that were canceled, 300 were canceled, and so on. You can see the information that is uploaded. And when there is a mistake, it's canceled because the database does not accept those. So here I'm going to enter to the database. I'm in the data on the database page. I'm not in the PowerPoint. I'm in the database. Here where it says upload, I'm going to click here and upload. It takes a little while. I'm here in the database. What what I did is, because I have been logging for more than 1 hour, I was taken out and now I'm in. So you can click on upload. I'm going to pretend that I'm going to upload the worksheet that I just fill out. I click on upload, and here it says upload XMart 4. I I click on here. You can see in the official page the information on the pollutants or contaminants. Is just like what I say, I have more here. For instance, Excel on contaminants, finish, invalid, cancel, 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 and finished. So you can see here the last information that has been sent in Simovima. So it's Excel on food contaminants. You click here. So I can go back into my file. I can't do it because I don't have any information to upload. So only in that moment we know if our information, if our database was filled out correctly. If we have 10 templates, we can upload 10 templates with no problem, but each template has to be uploaded individually. So you upload these templates and you wait. When it says then it says select browse in the origin of the file, and then say preview, click on preview, because here you see how if there is a mistake, the system shows you. And then you can cancel and try to upload if you can correct the mistake and then try it again. Like I say, we only find out if once we have uploaded the data sheet. Okay, so what you can do first is request access to the database to the email I show you at the beginning of this presentation. Once you have access there, you can have access to the same one. Okay, and you can download your data sheet here from here. So this is the template that you have to download, but I can download now because I'm already logging in this page. I download the template that I'm going to fill out. Is the same that I sent you. So I download it, and I can save it with that name. This is the template you're going to fill out. So to summarize, if GEMS Food provides reference data for chemical contaminants in food that can be used to assess contamination. The program is an important component of the global risk assessment of chemicals in food. It provides exposure assessments that are part of the basis for establishing national and international food safety standards. It also maintains links with international organizations as FAO, IAEA, UNEP, and non-governmental organizations. So this is the summary of the GEMS Food database. Are there any questions up until now? I am willing to give you any assistance if you would like to have individually. There's no problem. If you have any questions or you have any issues on accessing to this database or accessing or logging in into the page, please let me know. In our regions here already, we don't have a lot of information from our countries in the region and the Caribbean. I know that Brazil has uploaded information, Colombia and Ecuador. I think Chile has uploaded some information. Here, what we have in OIRSA, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras. All those countries have uploaded. I haven't seen information from other countries that have uploaded information. So if we don't upload information to this database in GEMS database, when it comes to adopt a maximum level of contaminants and food, the data on a region, they're not going to be taken into account. And we don't know if that maximum level that is adopted protects or not the health of our consumers, of if there's going to be an obstacle for trade. And so that's why it's very important that we start uploading information in the GEMS food database. When the maximal level was approved in rice, we were in attending that meeting, and I remember that that information was provisionally agreed until there were more information available to, to reevaluate. The same happened with aflatoxin, but we have to upload information. Okay, there is a question. Okay. So the first question is from Daniela Vivero. Daniela, could you please repeat how and who can have a user in the platform? You can have you can be a user. All the governmental institutions, private sectors don't have access to GEMS database. Only governments, all the ministries of agriculture and health of the countries can have access to it. Many different ministries may have access. My recommendation is that there's only one contact for GEMS food database, and that person sends information and uploads the database. I know that Brazil is a very large country, and as I know, Brazil only has 2 users for GEMS food database, and every day they're uploading information. So the important is the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture just make an agreement, and one of them can be the contact. So there's one person that can upload that information through an institutional address. There are also intergovernmental or international organizations can do it. In the case of the South Latin America, for instance, the Andean community may request access, and and the Andean region can request access to this database. But I recommend that the country request that. There's another question. How long it takes once you have successfully uploaded information to be available on the platform? It generally takes 24 hours. So once you have uploaded your information, after 10 or 15 minutes, you already know if there is a mistake or not. If there are no mistakes, they say it's waiting. So in 24 hours, it's going to be available. You can check that by entering the database and OPS and Americas, and you can see from that contaminant, and so the last information that's going to be there is the one that you uploaded. I'm going to give you an example. Daniela Vivero request, could you provide us strategies to request information to the different stakeholders? The first thing I want to know is the authorities must understand how important it is to upload this information, because approximately 10 years ago, I was working on a workshop on food safety and online course of the FAO. And the instructor said that when we look for information about evaluation of food safety, they said there are more information in Italian than in Spanish, even though there are so many more countries that speak Spanish. They said there is no information. It's not that there is no information, but the information is not where it can be used. So you have to understand that it's not that we have to work on all that work that we do in food safety, but unless that information is available somewhere all together, we're not going to be helpful to, we're going to be able to use them. I recently was working in the same workshop in one of these countries, and the participants were the authorities from the government, the Ministry of Agriculture, universities, the Ministry of Trade. So all these stakeholders were there, so they understand how important it is, this information for our countries. And they agreed that the health authorities were going to be the contact point, and that everyone was going to send information to the health authorities so they can be in charge to upload the information in the GEMS food database. Question: can we upload information from the private sector? Of course, the country is free to decide who sends information. The most important part is to to really stress if this is a random sampling or a direct sampling. That is the importance. But if it's a random sampling that has been done by a university or a private sector, the country can decide whether if they can upload it or not. But the important thing is to have that information available for the public. Giovanna Amancha's question: can we review information about veterinary medicine? Of course, in this database you can upload information about plaguicide, vet medicine, heavy metals, organic persistent contaminants, and mycotoxins. So all the chemical contaminants can be uploaded in this database. Also, additive information. Daniela Vivero, is there a minimum number of data that it's needed so it can be considered representative? Up to now, in the instructions manual in GEMS food, it doesn't says that there's a certain number required. That's why in one single sheet, a country can report different kinds of contaminants. So if one country has, let's say, 20 different data on paraquat, 20 different of ivermectin in milk or aflatoxins in corn, you can perfectly do it in one simple, in one template, in one template, all this information. Giovanna Amancha is asking that if we can review information on resistance on microbians and resistant gems. Of course, antimicrobians are residues. There are vet medicines, and of course we can, there are chemical substances. Let's say in the case of colistin, if you have information about colistin, which is a microbian that is used for animal industry to promote growth, and you have some food safety information, you can upload that because the microbians are chemical residues. What you can't not upload in the database are microbiological contaminants, but residues of vet medicine you can upload. For instance, colistin, there is a serious problem in the region because in many countries are using this product as a chemical for growth. So we have to still work on those microbians in the region, because you realize about this, that there's an issue when you have a patient, when there's a patient that is resistant to antibiotics. Natalia Quintana Garzón has a question: to provide information of all. Again, I'm going to show you who has access. Her question is about who has access. So you can access to this information. If I want to See, for instance, the an American region, Latin American region, I can access to that information even though I'm not part of an e-group working group, and I can download my information and I can use it. See, that is the advantage here. I'm in the database. Let's say I select the Latin American region. Let's say I'm going to choose abamectin in food category. I'm going to say all. Here I can enter the year 2022 to 2024. And here I'm going to click on search. I'm going to have all the Ivermectin said there's no information on that year. Let's select another one to see. I'm going to show you arsenic, inorganic arsenic. Let's say 21 to 24. Category of food, I'm going to check rice. So I'm going to select type of food, milk, drinks, nuts, other products. Let's say, see all the different options you have. All the categories, fish, fat, cereals. Okay, cereal. And then also I can click or can choose the name of the food. I want to select rice. Rice. I'm going to click on search, and then I have all the information that I have that is there on rice. So it says the region, OPS, contaminant arsenic, group of food, cereals, and product based on cereals, identify or the OMS rice, the code, the status, row, the result, the units of measurement, LOD, LOQ, the year of the sampling, the representativeness of the sample, the identifier of the lab, origin of food, guarantee of quality analysis, results based on, and here we have the series number. That means that it comes from, the sample comes from Dominican Republic. I can select, for example, we're going to select up to number 300. And here you have all the information that it says Dominican Republic, SV, that's El Salvador, information from El Salvador. That's the code CR Costa Rica, etc., etc. So this information I can download this information if I click here as an Excel template, and I can use it to make assessments of risk in my country. I, I can, let's say, we're never going to have just exact information, but we're always going to have information from other countries to make reviews. Giovanna Mancha, it says information of LOD and LOQ can be entered into. Excuse me, I don't understand. The LOD and LOQ has to be reported by the lab. The LOD and LOQ has to be reported by the lab. And besides that, if a lab that has a method that is working on a quality management method, even though if that method is not accredited, the lab has to report the LOD and LOQ, and there is no report. You have to request the lab to send you that information, because many labs they only reported LOQ, but if the lab reports the LOQ, the lab knows what is the LOD, because they know that information, that their equipment registers that information. Why is that information so important? Because when it comes to evaluate the exposition, the consumer is not only exposed to the sampling that are higher on LMR, but also the consumer is exposed to the samples that are low below the LMR, the foods that are lower than LOD, and the samples that are lower than LOQ. So when we are working on a review, we have to take into account all the levels of exposition. And so if you only have a partial results or incomplete results, for instance, if there are many samples are below the LOQ, but there is a sign of some concentration of contaminant, you have to responsibly know what is the level to make a fair review. We have another question from Costa Rica. Is there any glossary or instructions to fill out the database? Yes, there is. There is. There are instructions available in English and Spanish. I'm going to send it to you. Everything I show you here in PowerPoint was taken from that GEMS manual. We are going to send it to you through Daniela. Natalia Quintana Garzon asked if there's a limit of year to send information. If I have information back from 2010 or 2011, the platform may reject that information. Up to now, I don't have any information. Up to now, we have been able to upload information from any year. If you have information from 2010, you can perfectly upload it in the database. Okay, so I think we still have 20 minutes to show you this template. This is a proposal. This is a very simple proposal because we have realized that one of the issues that we have in many countries is the way how we save the tabs. Sometimes Excel is obsolete. In a book of Excel, we can save 1,048,576 data. If a country processes 50,000 data in a year, in a book of Excel, we can perfectly save, or how much is a million divided in 50,000? So that's 20 years. We know that there is also a safety issues in Excel, but if we are saving information on contaminants, there is an advantage, and it is because it just makes it easier. This is only a template on how a database in Excel. Any person that knows a little bit about on Excel, you can. I have automatized this with 3 clicks with registration, database, and clean. So what are the advantages on working on a database in Excel? Well, first, you can design and customize your database in Excel according to specific needs. Second, efficient management of a large quantity of data. Second, advanced analysis on operations and formulas that you can create, summarize on, and create graphics. Also enables to import and export data from and to different sources. We can copy and paste into this GEMS food. It also didn't require a lot of investment in software and hardware, which is available for small and large and medium database. Also allows you to storage information in your local device. So Excel facilitates low cost, a lot of functions for different operations or different the organization of your database. For instance, we did this in half an hour. We uploaded, for instance, all these fields. You can use any other ones. Type contaminant, if it's a veterinarian or additive, the type of contaminant, the kind of food, number of sample, origin of the sample. This is what we use in the Dominican Republic, province, municipality, inspector, the date responsible, person responsible, the lab, analytic, LOD, LOQ results, and that, the date of the analysis. Here, if I write different information, let's say, let's write this, you can copy and paste. You register this, and here you can register in the database. If you go to your database, you can upload it here, see? To avoid mistakes, you can have a list of contaminants, so you can only click on your database the information to write less. So when you have your database with a filter, you can select the information you want to see. You can also insert so the data in Excel, you can do many different things that we cannot do if we don't have the information organized in a database. And so in a database, you're going to have information in one single cell. So what happened? I also make this mistake when I was the director of food safety. So if I receive a lab result, for instance, I got a lab result on the analysis on peppers, multi-residue that contain paraquat, quipronil, aparapox, chloromequat, etc. So when I add this information in one column, I add all the information, but it's really doesn't do anything. I have to add the information in every column, so I can use that information and that I can use it, and that I can use all the advantages from Excel. It's just simply a proposal that this is just a recommendation. Here in Excel, you can enter, for instance, with this option, a dynamic table, you can take all the information you want If you want to go further, Excel has other apps. For instance, uh, look for by column. Excel has, for instance, data analysis, which is also an extension of Excel, where you can make all different kinds of calculations. For example, descriptive statistics, you can enter all the information for that statistics. You can make an analysis of relation, etc., etc. It's only a proposal from us because we have seen those kind of difficulties when you have some database that you have information in a template that you cannot use it. There are more questions. Thank you very much. In here in our office, we are more than happy to help you. I think we know now that we can do a lot of things remotely since the pandemics. So, like I say, we have better results when we are um, in person. But like I say, there's not enough resources to go to different countries. So, but we are very happy that for all the members of the International Regional Organization for Plant and Animal Health, we are more than happy to help you in any way we can. Thank you very much, Daniela. Could you please give the closing speech? Thank you very much, Raul. Thank you very much, Raul, and all the team for providing this training. This has been very an excellent morning. We will be looking forward to continuing to receiving the document you sent. You were going to share the instructions or the manual that you mentioned. We would also like to invite you to the next training on May 21st. At the same time, we will send you the links for the meeting next. I believe that these sessions are going to be recorded in YouTube, so you can check them if you need it. We have also shared the presentations and all the documents in Excel or your emails. So the information is going to be available in YouTube for everyone, available for you and for those that couldn't be here today. Thank you very much, Raul, again.